The kettle screamed as Victoria Ashworth tilted it toward the sleeping dog. Titan lay motionless on the kitchen floor, sedated, defenseless, his tan and black fur rising and falling with each drugged breath. "Just a little accident," she whispered, watching steam curl from the spout. "No one will ever know." The first drops of boiling water fell toward his body. Then the back door exploded inward. Commander Ryan Cole stood in the doorway, his Navy digital camouflage uniform soaked with rain, his eyes locked on the nightmare before him. The kettle, his dog, this woman. What the hell are you doing? If you're new here, subscribe to the channel and follow this story to the very end. Comment below with the city you're watching from, so I can see how far this story travels around the world. 3 weeks earlier, everything had been perfect. Commander Ryan Cole pulled into his driveway after a 14-hour training session at Naval Special Warfare Center. His body exhausted, but his mind at peace. Before his truck even stopped, he saw Titan waiting at the front window. That familiar silhouette of pointed ears and intelligent eyes. The German Shepherd was already at the door when Ryan opened it, tail wagging, body pressed against his legs in the way that said, "I missed you," more eloquently than any words. "Hey, boy." Ryan crouched down, letting Titan lick his face, feeling the tension of the day drain away. "Yeah, I missed you too." This was their ritual. 15 years as a Navy SEAL had taught Ryan that routines mattered, that small moments of connection were what kept you human when the world tried to make you something else. And Titan was more than a dog. He was family. "Cole!" Ryan looked up to see his neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, waving from her porch. 72 years old, widowed. The kind of woman who knew everyone's business and shared it freely. "Evening, Mrs. Patterson. Have you met the new neighbor yet? Victoria? She moved into the Henderson place last week." "Haven't had the pleasure." "Lovely woman, just lovely. Brought me homemade cookies yesterday. Said she's a military widow, lost her husband in Iraq." Mrs. Patterson lowered her voice conspiratorially. "Between you and me, I think she's looking to meet someone. A handsome SEAL commander might be just what she needs." Ryan managed a polite smile. "I'll be sure to say hello." "You do that. She asked about you specifically. Said she'd love to meet the hero who lives next door." Something flickered in Ryan's gut, an instinct honed by years of combat. But he dismissed it. This was Coronado, not Kandahar. Not every stranger was a threat. "I'll introduce myself this weekend." He didn't have to wait that long. The next morning, Ryan was loading Titan into his truck when a voice called out from across the street. "Commander Cole?" He turned. A woman was walking toward him, early 40s, attractive, with carefully styled blonde hair and a smile that seemed practiced. She wore expensive casual clothes and carried a plate covered in aluminum foil. "I'm Victoria Ashworth. I just moved in across the street." "Ryan Cole, nice to meet you." "I heard so much about you from Mrs. Patterson. She says you're some kind of war hero." "Mrs. Patterson exaggerates." "I doubt that." Victoria's eyes moved to Titan, who was watching her from the truck's back seat. "And this must be the famous Titan. Mrs. Patterson says he's a decorated veteran too." "He is. 3 combat tours. Saved my life in Afghanistan." "How wonderful." Victoria stepped closer to the truck. "May I pet him?" Titan growled. It was low, barely audible, but unmistakable. Ryan had heard that sound 1,000 times, in combat zones, during training exercises, whenever the dog sensed something wrong. "I'm sorry," Ryan said quickly. "He's protective. Takes him a while to warm up to new people." "Of course. Understandable." Victoria stepped back, but her smile didn't falter. "I brought cookies. Chocolate chip. Mrs. Patterson said they were your favorite." "That's very kind of you." "It's nothing. I just wanted to welcome myself to the neighborhood. She handed in the plate. I know military life can be lonely. If you ever need anything, a cup of sugar, someone to watch Titan while you're deployed, just ask. I appreciate that. Victoria lingered for a moment, her eyes moving between Ryan and the dog. He really is beautiful. Such intelligent eyes. You can tell he's been through a lot. We both have. Well, I'll let you get to work. Victoria started walking back toward her house. See you around, Commander. Ryan watched her go, that instinct still flickering in his gut. Titan was watching too, his body tense, his eyes never leaving the woman until she disappeared inside her door. What's wrong, boy? Ryan reached back to scratch Titan's ears. Something about her you don't like? Titan whined softly. Yeah, me too. But Ryan pushed the feeling aside. He had training to conduct, dogs to prepare for deployment, responsibilities that couldn't wait for vague suspicions about friendly neighbors. He would regret that decision for the rest of his life. Over the next 2 weeks, Victoria Ashworth became a fixture in Ryan's life. She was always there, waving when he left for work, stopping by with baked goods, offering to help with yard work, asking questions about his schedule, his deployments, his routines. You work such long hours, she said one evening, appearing at his fence while he grilled dinner. It must be hard on Titan, being alone all day. He's used to it. Military dogs learn to adapt. Still, if you ever need someone to check on him, let him out. Give him some company. Victoria smiled warmly. I'm right across the street. It would be no trouble at all. That's generous of you. It's what neighbors do. She paused, watching Titan through the fence. The dog was sitting beside Ryan, ears flat, eyes fixed on Victoria. He still doesn't seem to like me. He takes time. Maybe I could help with that. Bring him some treats. Spend some time with him while you're home. Help him see I'm not a threat. Ryan hesitated. Every instinct told him to refuse. Titan's instincts were rarely wrong. The dog had detected threats that trained intelligence officers missed. But Victoria looked so sincere, so eager to help. And Ryan was tired of being paranoid about everything. Sure, he said. I'll give you a spare key, in case of emergencies. Victoria's smile widened. That would be wonderful. She reached through the fence, extending her hand toward Titan. The dog snapped at her. Not hard enough to bite, just a warning. Titan! Ryan grabbed his collar. I'm sorry, he's never... It's fine. Victoria pulled her hand back, but her smile never wavered. We just need more time to get acquainted. Trust is earned, not given. Something in her voice made Ryan's blood run cold. But the moment passed, and he convinced himself he'd imagined it. The next day, he gave her the key. That was his first mistake. The second came a week later, when a 3-day training exercise was scheduled at Camp Pendleton. Ryan would be gone from Monday morning until Wednesday night, the longest he'd left Titan alone since they'd been stateside. I could check on him, Victoria offered when she heard about the exercise. Take him for walks, make sure he has food and water, keep him company. It would be my pleasure. I don't want to impose. It's not an imposition. I love dogs. Victoria's eyes were earnest, her voice warm. Please, Ryan, let me help. That's what neighbors are for. Against every instinct, Ryan agreed. Thank you, Victoria. I really appreciate it. Of course. Titan and I will have a wonderful time together. She smiled. Titan growled. And somewhere deep inside, Ryan Cole knew he had just made a terrible mistake. The exercise was canceled on Tuesday afternoon. Flash flooding had made the training area inaccessible, and the commanding officer decided to send everyone home rather than risk the safety of personnel. Ryan didn't call ahead. He wanted to surprise Titan. Walk through the door, see that look of pure joy in the dog's eyes, feel that unconditional love that made everything else worthwhile. He pulled into his driveway at 1600 hours. Victoria's car was in front of his house. Good, he thought. She's checking on Titan. Maybe I was wrong about her. He walked to the front door and found it locked. Strange. Victoria had a key. Why would she lock herself in? Ryan went around to the back door instead. Also locked. But through the window he could see into the kitchen, and what he saw stopped his heart. Victoria stood at the stove, her back to him. In her hand was a kettle, steam rising from the spout. Titan lay on the kitchen floor, motionless, unconscious. Victoria turned, and Ryan saw her face clearly for the first time without the mask she always wore. Cold, calculated, empty of anything human. She looked at the dog. She looked at the kettle. She smiled, and she began to pour. Ryan didn't think. He acted. His shoulder hit the door with 15 years of combat training behind it. The lock shattered. The door exploded inward. Victoria spun, kettle still in hand, boiling water spraying across the floor. It missed Titan by inches, close enough that the dog's fur rippled from the steam. "What the hell are you doing?" Ryan crossed the kitchen in 3 strides. He grabbed Victoria's wrist, twisted the kettle away, sent it clattering across the floor. His other hand found her throat, not squeezing, but pinning her against the refrigerator with enough force to make his intentions absolutely clear. "Ryan!" Victoria gasped. "You're hurting me!" "Answer me. What were you doing to my dog?" "He attacked me." Her voice shifted instantly from shock to victimhood. "I came to check on him, just like I promised, and he went crazy. Bit my arm, knocked me down. I was defending myself." "With boiling water?" "I panicked. I didn't know what else to do." Ryan looked at her arm. No blood, no wounds, no sign of any bite. "You're lying." "I'm not. Check his mouth. You'll find my skin." Ryan released her and dropped to his knees beside Titan. The dog was breathing, but unconscious. His mouth was closed, his jaw slack. No blood anywhere. No evidence of a struggle. But there was something else. A bowl near Titan's water dish, containing what looked like ground meat. Ryan picked it up and sniffed. His stomach turned. "You drugged him." "What? No, This is laced with something. Sedatives from the smell." Ryan's voice was ice. "You drugged my dog, and then you were going to pour boiling water on him. Why? You're insane. You're absolutely insane." Victoria was crying now, tears streaming down her face, body trembling. "I would never hurt an animal. I love dogs." "Then explain this." Ryan held up the bowl. "Explain why my dog is unconscious. Explain why you had a kettle of boiling water pointed at him." "The meat was for a recipe. The kettle was for tea." Victoria backed toward the door. "You're traumatized. You have PTSD. You're seeing things that aren't there." "I know what I saw. You saw a woman defending herself from an aggressive dog. That's what any court will believe." Victoria's tears vanished as suddenly as they'd appeared. Her voice hardened. "My word against yours, Commander. Who do you think people will believe? A grieving military widow or a combat veteran with documented psychological issues?" Ryan felt the blood drain from his face. "How do you know about my—" "I know everything about you. Your deployments, your medical records, your PTSD diagnosis." Victoria smiled, a cold, triumphant expression that revealed the predator beneath the mask. "Did you really think I chose you randomly? You were perfect. Isolated, traumatized, dependent on your dog for emotional support. And now that dog is going to be put down. Because he attacked me. Because he's dangerous. Because you couldn't control your own animal. You set this up. The whole thing. Of course I did. The cookies, the kindness, the spare key, all of it. Victoria's smile widened. Do you have any idea how much money I'm going to make from this? The lawsuit alone will be worth hundreds of thousands. And when your precious Titan is euthanized for attacking me, well, that's just a bonus. You're insane. I'm practical. Victoria reached for her phone. Now, I'm going to call 911. I'm going to tell them that a combat veteran attacked me when I was defending myself from his dangerous dog. And by the time the police arrive, you'll be the monster, not me. I won't let you do this. You can't stop me. Victoria started dialing. Who are they going to believe, Ryan? A crying woman with bruises on her wrist from where you grabbed her? Or a man in uniform who everyone knows has anger issues and PTSD? Ryan looked at Titan, still unconscious on the floor. He looked at Victoria, phone to her ear, already composing her story. She was right. In a he-said-she-said situation, her narrative would be compelling. She had experience with this. He could see it now. The confidence, the preparation, the way she already knew exactly what to say. But she had made one mistake. You said you checked on Titan, Ryan said quietly. What? When you came over today, you said you came to check on him, like you promised. So? So Titan is a trained military working dog. He doesn't accept food from strangers. It's one of the first things we train out of them. Ryan's voice hardened. If you really just came to check on him, how did you get that meat into his system? How did you sedate a dog who wouldn't take food from your hand? Victoria's confidence flickered, just for a moment. He must have... You've been coming here while I was at work, using the key I gave you, conditioning him to accept food from you. Ryan stood up slowly. How long? A week? 2? You're making things up. I have cameras. The blood drained from Victoria's face. What? Security cameras in every room, connected to a cloud server that I can access from anywhere in the world. Ryan pulled out his phone. Did you really think a Navy SEAL wouldn't secure his own home? You're bluffing. Am I? Ryan tapped his phone screen. Let me check the footage from the last 2 weeks. Let's see how many times you've been in my house while I was at work. Let's see what you've been feeding my dog. Victoria's hand lowered, the 911 call forgotten. This doesn't change anything, she said, but her voice had lost its certainty. I'll say you faked the footage. I'll say... You'll say nothing. Ryan stepped closer. Because right now, I have evidence of breaking and entering, animal cruelty, and attempted harm to a federal military asset. Titan isn't just a pet. He's a retired military working dog, protected by federal law. You weren't planning to hurt a German shepherd. You were planning to assault a decorated veteran of the United States military. That's ridiculous. He's just a dog. He's a dog with a service record longer than most humans. A dog who saved American lives. A dog who is protected by the same laws that protect any other service member. Ryan's voice dropped to a whisper. And you were going to pour boiling water on him. Victoria stared at him. For the first time since he'd met her, she looked genuinely afraid. What do you want? The truth. All of it. Who you really are, why you're doing this, and how many other people you've hurt. I don't have to tell you anything. No, you don't. Ryan smiled, a cold expression that had made Taliban fighters surrender. But I'm going to find out anyway. And when I do, I'm going to make sure you spend the rest of your life in a cell. You can't prove anything. I already have. Ryan held up his phone. This conversation has been recording since I walked in the door. Victoria's face crumbled. Now, Ryan said quietly, you're going to sit down, and you're going to wait for the military police to arrive. And if you try to run, if you try to delete your phone, If you try anything at all, he looked down at Titan, still unconscious on the floor. I will hunt you down, and I will find you, and the law won't be able to protect you from what happens next. You're threatening me. I'm making a promise. Ryan's eyes never left hers. I've spent 15 years learning how to find people who don't want to be found. I've tracked terrorists across 3 continents. I've located targets that the CIA couldn't find. He stepped closer. Do you really want to test me? Victoria sat down. Ryan called the military police, and 20 minutes later, as Victoria Ashworth was led away in handcuffs, Titan finally began to wake up. The dog lifted his head groggily, confused, disoriented. His eyes found Ryan's face, and his tail began to wag weakly. It's okay, boy. Ryan knelt beside him, gently stroking his fur. It's okay. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. Titan whined softly and pressed his head against Ryan's chest. I know, Ryan whispered. I know. But it's over now. She can't hurt you anymore. He held his dog close, feeling Titan's heart beat against his own. It wasn't over. Ryan knew that. Victoria would lawyer up, deny everything, try to twist the narrative. The legal battle would be long and ugly and exhausting. But for this moment, just this one moment, his dog was safe, his family was intact, and the woman who had tried to destroy them was in custody. That was enough. For now, that was enough. The military police took Victoria away at 1847 hours. By 600 the next morning, she was out on bail. Ryan found out when his phone rang, jolting him from a restless sleep on the couch where he'd stayed all night. Titan pressed against his legs, both of them unable to fully relax. Cole, it's Lieutenant Morrison. The voice on the other end was tense, apologetic. I wanted you to hear this from me before it hits the news. Hear what? Ashworth made bail, $50,000, cash. Her lawyer showed up at midnight with a briefcase full of money. Ryan sat up, his heart pounding. That's impossible. She was arrested for... I know what she was arrested for, but apparently she has connections. Good ones. Morrison paused. There's more. Tell me. She's filed a restraining order against you, and a formal complaint demanding Titan be seized and evaluated for aggressive behavior. She tried to pour boiling water on him. I know, but her lawyer is already spinning a different story. Self-defense against a dangerous animal. PTSD triggered overreaction from a combat veteran. Morrison's voice dropped. They're good, Cole. Really good. This isn't her first time. Ryan looked at Titan, who was watching him with those intelligent, worried eyes. The dog could sense his distress. He always could. What do I do? Get a lawyer, a good one, and start documenting everything. Morrison sighed. I believe you, Ryan, but belief doesn't win court cases. Evidence does. I have the security footage. Then make sure it's backed up in multiple locations. Make sure it can't be tampered with or dismissed. Morrison paused. And Ryan, be careful. This woman, she's not what she appears to be. My gut says you've only scratched the surface. I know. I'm going to dig deeper. Do it carefully, legally. Don't give her any ammunition to use against you. Understood. Ryan ended the call and sat in the silence, his mind racing. Victoria Ashworth had walked into his life 3 weeks ago. She had targeted him, studied him, manipulated him. She had a plan, a method, resources. This wasn't random. This was professional. And that meant she'd done it before. Ryan needed help. Someone with access to databases he couldn't reach, skills he didn't possess. Someone who owed him a favor. He picked up his phone and dialed a number from memory. NCIS, Special Agent Santos. Maria, it's Ryan Cole. Silence. Then, Ryan? I haven't heard from you since Kandahar. I know. Ryan closed his eyes, remembering. A failed mission. A dead informant. A secret that Santos had helped him bury. I need to call in that favor. What kind of favor? The kind that involves digging into someone's past. Someone who just tried to hurt my dog and is now trying to destroy my life. I heard about the arrest. The whole base is talking about it. Santos paused. What do you need? Everything. Her real name, her history, her previous addresses, any criminal record, any civil suits, any pattern of behavior. Ryan's voice hardened. She's done this before, Maria. I can feel it. And I need to prove it. That's a big ask. I saved your career in Kandahar. I kept your name out of reports that would have ended you. I know, Santos sighed. Send me what you have. I'll see what I can find. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. If this woman is as connected as she seems, digging into her past might bring more trouble than you're ready for. I'm a SEAL. Trouble is what I do. Fair enough. Santos paused. Ryan, watch your back. And watch your dog. Always. He ended the call and looked at Titan. Looks like we're going to war, boy. Titan's tail wagged once. He understood. The first blow came 2 days later. Ryan was at the training center, working with a young Belgian Malinois named Ghost, when his commanding officer appeared at the edge of the facility. Cole, my office. Now. Captain Hendricks didn't look happy. Then again, Hendricks never looked happy. It was part of his charm. But today, there was something different in his eyes. Something that made Ryan's stomach tighten. Close the door. Ryan complied. Sir, if this is about... Sit down, Commander. Ryan sat. Hendricks dropped a folder on his desk. Victoria Ashworth's attorney contacted the base commander this morning. They're claiming that your dog is a dangerous animal who attacked a civilian without provocation. They're demanding Titan be removed from your custody and placed in quarantine pending evaluation. That's insane. She drugged him. She was going to... I know what you claim she was going to do. But her attorney is presenting a very different picture. Hendricks opened the folder. Medical records showing bite marks on her arm. Photographs of bruises. A statement from a witness who saw Titan behaving aggressively in the weeks before the incident. Those records are fake. That witness is lying. Can you prove that? Ryan's jaw tightened. Not yet. Then we have a problem. Hendricks leaned back. The base commander is under pressure. The media is starting to sniff around. And frankly, your PTSD diagnosis isn't helping. My PTSD has nothing to do with this. I know that. You know that. But her lawyers are painting a picture of a traumatized veteran who can't control his emotions or his animal. Hendricks met his eyes. They're good, Cole, and they're going to destroy you if you don't find a way to fight back. What are my options? Right now, limited. The base commander has agreed to a hearing next week. If Ashworth's claims are upheld, Titan will be seized and evaluated by County Animal Control. And if they find him dangerous? Hendricks didn't answer. He didn't have to. That's not going to happen, Ryan said quietly. Then you'd better find evidence that proves she's lying. Because right now, you're fighting a war with no ammunition. Ryan left the office and walked directly to his truck. Titan was waiting in the back seat, tail wagging, oblivious to the storm gathering around them. Hey, boy. Ryan climbed in and pulled Titan close, burying his face in the dog's fur. I'm not going to let them take you, I promise. Titan licked his face. I promise. The call from Santos came that evening. Ryan, I found something, but you're not going to like it. Tell me. Victoria Ashworth doesn't exist. At least, not before 5 years ago. The Social Security number she's using was issued to a woman who died in 2018. Her credit history starts in 2019. Before that, nothing. She's using a stolen identity. It gets worse. Santos's voice dropped. I ran her photo through our facial recognition database. She matches 3 other identities in 3 different states. Margaret Collins in Texas, Patricia Brennan in Florida, Susan Wheeler in Virginia. What do those names have in common? Each one was involved in a civil suit against a military family. Each suit involved a pet, usually a dog, that allegedly attacked her. Each case was settled out of court for substantial sums. Ryan felt his blood run cold. How much? Collins got $175,000. Brennan got $230,000. Wheeler got $310,000. Santos paused. Combined with what she was probably planning to get from you, we're talking about close to $1 million in fraudulent settlements. And the animals? Silence. Maria, what happened to the animals? 2 were euthanized after being declared dangerous. 1 died from injuries sustained during the alleged attack. Santos's voice was heavy. Ryan, this woman isn't just a con artist. She's a serial animal abuser. She targets military families, gains their trust, then stages attacks to collect money. And no one's caught her? She's smart. She moves between states, changes identities, never stays in one place long enough to establish patterns. The families she targeted were too traumatized to fight back. They just wanted it over with. Until now. Until now. Santos paused. I'm sending you everything I found. Names, addresses, contact information for the previous victims. If you can get them to testify, you might be able to establish a pattern of behavior. That could take weeks. The hearing is in 6 days. Then you'd better work fast. Ryan ended the call and stared at the files Santos had sent. 3 families. 3 destroyed lives. 3 animals who had been hurt or killed by a woman who saw them as nothing more than tools for profit. He thought about Thomas Blackwood, the veteran whose service dog had been euthanized, about Margaret Collins's golden retriever, about Patricia Brennan's therapy cat, about Titan. Not you, Ryan whispered, pulling his dog close. Not ever. He opened his laptop and started making calls. Thomas Blackwood answered on the 4th ring. Yeah? Mr. Blackwood, my name is Commander Ryan Cole. I'm calling about Victoria Ashworth, or Margaret Collins, as you might have known her. Silence. Long, heavy silence. How did you get this number? NCIS. I'm a Navy SEAL stationed at Coronado. Ashworth tried to hurt my dog 3 days ago. I'm trying to stop her before she does it again. She got to you too? Blackwood's voice cracked. Jesus, she got to you too. She tried, but I came home early and caught her in the act. You caught her? Actually caught her? Red-handed. She was about to pour boiling water on my German Shepherd. My God. Blackwood was breathing heavily now. My God. I always knew. I always suspected, but I could never prove. I can prove it, but I need your help. What kind of help? Your testimony. What she did to you, to your dog. The pattern of behavior. Ryan paused. There's a hearing in 6 days. If I can show that she's done this before, I can stop her from ever doing it again. I don't know if I can. Blackwood's voice was barely a whisper. After they took him, I fell apart. I lost everything. My job, my home, my family. I've been in and out of VA hospitals for 2 years. I understand, and I'm sorry for what happened to you. Are you? Because most people don't give a damn about a homeless vet who lost his dog. I give a damn, and not just because of what she did to me. Ryan's voice softened. Max saved your life, didn't he? Just like Titan saved mine. He did, in Fallujah. Detected an IED that would have killed my entire squad. Blackwood's voice broke. He was more than a dog. He was my brother. My family. The only reason I was still alive. I know exactly what you mean. And she took him from me. She drugged him, staged an attack, made everyone believe he was dangerous. They put him down while I was still fighting the charges. Blackwood was crying now. I never even got to say goodbye. I'm so sorry, Thomas. Don't be sorry. Be angry. Blackwood's voice hardened. You want my testimony? You've got it. I'll tell the world what that monster did to me and Max. I'll scream it from the rooftops if I have to. Can you come to San Diego? I'm in a VA shelter in Phoenix. I don't have money for... I'll pay for everything. Flight, hotel, whatever you need. Ryan paused. And Thomas? When this is over, I want to introduce you to someone. Who? A dog. A young German shepherd named Shadow, who needs a partner. Ryan smiled sadly. I think you might be exactly what he's looking for. Silence. Then, softly, You'd do that? For me? I'd do that for Max, for everything he did for you, and for this country. Ryan's voice strengthened. These dogs give us everything. It's time we gave something back. Okay. Blackwood took a deep breath. Okay. Send me the details. I'll be there. Thank you, Thomas. Don't thank me. Just stop her. Stop her before she destroys anyone else. Ryan made 2 more calls that night. Sarah Chen in Florida had lost her therapy cat, Whiskers, to Patricia Brennan's scheme. She cried for 20 minutes before agreeing to testify. Michael Rodriguez in Texas had watched his golden retriever, Bailey, be euthanized after Margaret Collins filed her fraudulent claim. He was angrier than anyone Ryan had ever spoken to, and more determined. I've been waiting 3 years for this, Rodriguez said. 3 years of knowing she was out there, hurting other animals, destroying other families, and no one would listen. I'm listening. Then let's burn her to the ground. By midnight, Ryan had assembled a team. 3 witnesses, 3 destroyed lives, 3 stories that painted a devastating picture of Victoria Ashworth's true nature. But Victoria wasn't sitting idle. The next morning, Ryan woke to find a legal notice taped to his front door. Victoria's attorneys had filed an emergency motion to accelerate the hearing. Instead of 6 days, he now had 3. She knows, Ryan muttered, reading the document. She knows I'm building a case. His phone rang. Unknown number. Commander Cole. Victoria's voice was silk over steel. I see you've been busy. How did you get this number? I have resources. Surely you figured that out by now. She paused. I also know about your little investigation. The calls you've been making, the witnesses you've been gathering. Scared? Amused, Victoria laughed softly. Do you really think a few sob stories from broken veterans are going to change anything? I have lawyers, Cole. Good ones. By the time they're done with your witnesses, no one will believe a word they say. We'll see about that. Yes, we will, her voice hardened. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to drop this investigation. You're going to admit that your dog attacked me, and you're going to pay me $300,000 to make this all go away. And if I don't, then I'll destroy you, your career, your reputation, your pathetic dog, all of it, gone. Victoria's voice dropped to a whisper. I've done it before, Commander, to men stronger than you, to families more connected than yours, and I'll do it again. You're threatening a Navy SEAL. I'm making a promise. Victoria's laugh was cold. 3 days, Cole. You have 3 days to decide. After that, the gloves come off. She hung up. Ryan stared at his phone, rage burning in his chest. Every instinct screamed at him to hunt this woman down, to make her pay for what she'd done. No. That was what she wanted. That was what she was counting on. The traumatized veteran losing control, proving her narrative right. He wasn't going to give her the satisfaction. Instead, he called Santos. She just contacted me, threatened me directly. Did you record it? No. Unknown number. Caught me off guard. Damn, Santos sighed. She's escalating. That means she's worried. She should be. What's your plan? Ryan looked at Titan, who was watching him with those calm, trusting eyes. The dog who had saved his life. The dog who trusted him completely. I'm going to give her exactly what she wants. What? She thinks I'm going to fight fair. Play by the rules. Let her lawyers twist the truth until no one knows what's real. Ryan's voice hardened. But I'm a SEAL. We don't fight fair. We fight smart. What are you planning? To set a trap, and to make sure she walks right into it. Ryan, if this goes wrong, it won't. He looked at Titan. I've got too much to lose. That night, Ryan made one more call. Lieutenant Morrison, I need a favor. Another one? The last one, I promise. Ryan took a deep breath. I need you to spread a rumor. Tell people I've been called away for an emergency training exercise. Make sure Victoria hears about it. Why? Because she's going to try again, and this time, I'm going to be ready. You're using yourself as bait. I'm using my house as a trap. Hidden cameras, audio recording, motion sensors. When she comes back, and she will come back, I'll have everything I need to destroy her. That's dangerous. That's necessary. Ryan's voice softened. She's hurt too many people, Morrison. Too many animals. Too many families. It ends here. And if something goes wrong, then I'll handle it. Ryan looked at Titan. I'm not losing this dog. Not to her. Not to anyone. Okay, Morrison sighed. I'll spread the word. But Ryan, be careful. This woman is more dangerous than you realize. I know exactly how dangerous she is. Ryan's jaw tightened. That's why I'm not giving her any room to escape. He ended the call and knelt beside Titan. One more time, boy. One more mission. He scratched behind the dog's ears. Then we can rest. Titan's tail wagged. They were ready. The trap was set. Now all they had to do was wait. The rumor spread exactly as Ryan had planned. By noon the next day, half the base believed Commander Cole had been called away for an emergency training exercise in Nevada. By evening, the other half had heard about it too. And by midnight, Victoria Ashworth knew exactly where Ryan Cole wasn't. Ryan watched her house from his neighbor's window, binoculars pressed to his eyes, every muscle tense with anticipation. She's moving! Santos's voice crackled through his earpiece. She'd agreed to help monitor the situation. Off the books, off the record. I see her. Victoria emerged from her front door at 02:37 hours, dressed in dark clothing, carrying a small bag. She crossed the street with the casual confidence of someone who had done this many times before. She's heading for your house. I know. Ryan tracked her movement through the binoculars. She's using the back entrance, same as before. Cameras are recording. Audio is live. We've got her. Not yet. Ryan's jaw tightened. I need her inside. I need her doing something incriminating. Just entering the house isn't enough. Her lawyers could claim she was checking on Titan like she promised. So we wait. We wait. Victoria reached Ryan's back door and produced a key. The one he'd never asked her to return. She inserted it into the lock, turned it slowly, and slipped inside. Ryan's heart pounded in his chest. Titan was in there, alone, with her. But this time, Titan wasn't sedated. This time, Ryan had spent 3 days working with the dog, reinforcing his training, making sure he understood the situation. Titan would stay in his crate, quiet and alert, until Ryan gave the signal. She's in the kitchen. Santos was watching the camera feeds from her laptop. She's going to the stove. Ryan's blood ran cold. Is she? She's filling the kettle. Damn it. Ryan was already moving toward the door. I'm going in. Wait, Ryan, wait! If you go in now, before she actually does anything, I'm not going to let her hurt my dog. She hasn't touched him yet. The cameras show Titan in his crate, door closed. She's just preparing. Ryan forced himself to stop, to breathe, to think. Santos was right. If he burst in now, Victoria could claim she was just making tea, just checking on the house, just being a good neighbor. Without clear evidence of intent to harm, her lawyers would spin it into another story of a paranoid veteran overreacting. He needed more. He needed her to show her hand. What's she doing now? She's talking. To herself, I think. Santos's voice was tight. Ryan, you need to hear this. The audio feed crackled to life in Ryan's earpiece. Stupid dog. Stupid, stupid dog. Victoria's voice was cold, methodical. Should have finished you last time. Should have made sure that idiot veteran couldn't interrupt. Ryan's hands clenched into fists. But that's okay. We learn from our mistakes, don't we? Victoria laughed softly. This time, no drugging, no subtlety. Just a tragic accident. A gas leak that no one could have prevented. The hero and his dog, both gone in their sleep. Ryan's blood turned to ice. She's not just targeting Titan. She's planning to... I heard. Santos's voice was sharp with urgency. Ryan, this isn't animal cruelty anymore. This is attempted murder. We need to call the police. Now. If we call the police, she'll hear the sirens. She'll run. She'll disappear into another identity, and we'll never find her. Ryan's mind raced. How close is she to Titan? She's still at the stove. The kettle is heating up. She's walking toward the gas line. The gas line? There's a connection point behind your stove. If she loosens it, the whole house could explode. Ryan was running now, sprinting across the yard toward his back door. Call 911. Tell them there's a gas leak in progress, but tell them to approach silent. No sirens, no lights. Ryan, what are you going to do? Whatever I have to. He hit the back door at full speed, shoulder first, exactly as he had 3 days ago. The wood splintered. The lock shattered, and Ryan Cole burst into his own kitchen for the second time in a week. Victoria spun around, her hands still on the gas line, her eyes wide with shock. You're supposed to be in Nevada. Surprise! Ryan crossed the kitchen in 3 strides, grabbing her wrist before she could loosen the connection any further. Step away from the stove. You can't do this. This is assault. I'll have you arrested. You're in my house, tampering with my gas line after breaking in with a stolen key. Ryan's voice was ice. The only person getting arrested tonight is you. You're insane. You're a paranoid lunatic with PTSD. No one will believe. They'll believe the cameras. Ryan nodded toward the small device mounted in the corner of his kitchen. They'll believe the audio recording of you planning to blow up this house with me and my dog inside. Victoria's face went pale. Cameras? You don't have... I installed them 3 days ago, after you tried to pour boiling water on my dog. Ryan smiled coldly. Did you really think I wouldn't prepare for round 2? You can't use that footage. It's illegal. You can't record someone without their consent in California. In a public place, you'd be right. But this is my home, my private property, which you entered illegally, without permission, with intent to commit murder. Ryan tightened his grip on her wrist. California law allows recording in your own home, especially when you have reason to believe a crime is being committed. Victoria's composure cracked. For the first time since Ryan had met her, she looked genuinely afraid. "What do you want?" "The truth. All of it." Ryan released her wrist, but blocked her path to the door. "Who you really are. How many people you've hurt. Everything." "I don't have to tell you anything." "No, you don't. But in about 3 minutes, the police are going to arrive. They're going to find you in my house, with your fingerprints on my gas line, and audio footage of you planning to kill me." Ryan's voice dropped to a whisper. "Do you really want to explain that without giving them something in return?" Victoria stared at him. Her eyes darted toward the back door, calculating, assessing. "Don't even think about it," Ryan said. "I've tracked Taliban fighters across the Hindu Kush. You won't make it 10 feet. You're bluffing. Try me." For a long moment, neither of them moved. The only sound was the hiss of the kettle on the stove and the quiet whine of Titan in his crate. Then Victoria's shoulders slumped. "Fine, fine. You want the truth? I'll give you the truth." She laughed bitterly. "Not that it matters. My lawyers will have me out by morning." "We'll see about that." "You're so naive." Victoria shook her head. "Do you have any idea how many times I've done this? How many military families I've destroyed? The system is designed to protect people like me, victims of animal attacks, innocent civilians traumatized by violent veterans. You're not a victim. I'm whatever I need to be." Victoria's smile was cold. "That's the beauty of it. I research my targets for months. I learn their schedules, their weaknesses, their pressure points. I become exactly what they need. A friendly neighbor, a sympathetic ear, a trusted confidant. And then you destroy them." "And then I collect." Victoria's eyes glittered. "Do you know how much money I've made? Over $1 million in settlements. All tax-free, all untraceable, all perfectly legal." "Legal? You drugged my dog. You were about to blow up my house." "I was about to stage an accident that would have looked like a tragic gas leak," Victoria shrugged. "Happens all the time in older homes. No one would have questioned it. Except I caught you. A temporary setback." Victoria's confidence was returning, her mask sliding back into place. "My lawyers will argue entrapment. They'll say you lured me here, set up illegal surveillance, tried to frame an innocent woman. By the time they're done, you'll be the one in handcuffs." "I don't think so." "Why not?" "Because I'm not the only one who's been watching you tonight." Ryan nodded toward the window. "Look outside." Victoria turned. 3 police cars were parked in front of the house, silent, lights off. Officers were positioned at every exit. And standing in the middle of the yard, phone in hand, was Special Agent Maria Santos. "NCIS?" Victoria's voice cracked. "You brought NCIS?" "I brought the people who have access to your real records, your real identities, your real history." Ryan's voice hardened. "Margaret Collins, Patricia Brennan, Susan Wheeler, Victoria Ashworth. 4 names, 4 states, 4 destroyed families. You can't prove we already have. 3 of your previous victims are on their way to San Diego right now. They're going to testify at tomorrow's hearing. They're going to tell the world exactly what you did to them and their animals." Victoria's face crumbled. "They won't be believed. They're broken people, homeless veterans, traumatized families. My lawyers will tear them apart." "Maybe, but they'll also have to explain why 4 different people in 4 different states are telling the exact same story." Ryan stepped closer. "Pattern of behavior, Victoria. That's what destroys cases like yours. 1 victim can be dismissed. 4 victims is a conspiracy. You think you've won?" Victoria's voice rose to a screech. "You think this is over? I have resources you can't imagine. People who owe me favors. Judges, lawyers, politicians. None of whom are going to help you now." Ryan gestured toward the officers entering through the back door. "This isn't a civil case anymore. This is attempted murder. Federal charges, federal prosecutors, federal prison." "Murder? I didn't kill anyone." "You planned to." Ryan nodded toward the gas line. "And thanks to my cameras, the whole world is going to know it." Victoria lunged at him, nails clawed, teeth bared, all pretense of civility gone. But Ryan was faster. He caught her wrists, spun her around, pinned her against the counter. "Stop fighting. It's over." "It's never over," Victoria was screaming now, thrashing against his grip. "You can't stop me. No one can stop me." "Officers?" Ryan looked at the police entering the kitchen. "She's all yours." They took her. Handcuffs snapped around her wrists. Rights were read. Victoria was led toward the door, still screaming, still fighting. At the threshold, she turned back. "This isn't finished, Cole." "I'll destroy you. I'll destroy your dog. I'll—" The door closed behind her. Silence. Ryan stood alone in his kitchen, breathing hard, his hands shaking with the aftermath of adrenaline. Then he heard it. A soft whine from the crate in the corner. Titan. He crossed the room and opened the crate door. The German Shepherd burst out, tail wagging, body pressed against Ryan's legs, tongue licking every inch of skin he could reach. "It's okay, boy. It's okay." Ryan dropped to his knees and pulled Titan close. "She's gone. She can't hurt you anymore." Titan whined and pressed his head against Ryan's chest. I know. Ryan's voice cracked. "I should have trusted you from the beginning. You knew. You always knew." The dog looked up at him with those intelligent, loving eyes. "I'm sorry, boy. I'm so sorry." Santos appeared in the doorway. "Ryan, are you okay?" "I'm fine." He stood up, wiping his eyes. "Is she secure?" "In custody. The DA is already preparing charges. Attempted murder, breaking and entering, conspiracy to commit fraud." Santos paused. "With your footage and the testimony from the other victims, she's looking at 20 years minimum." "Good." "There's more." Santos stepped into the kitchen. "When we searched her car, we found files. Dozens of files. Military families she was planning to target next." Ryan's stomach turned. "How many?" 18. All across the country. Families with service dogs, therapy animals, emotional support pets. Santos's voice was heavy. "She was building an empire, Ryan. A nationwide network of fraud targeting the most vulnerable people in our society. And now? Now it's over." Santos put a hand on his shoulder. "Because you stopped her." Ryan looked at Titan. The dog looked back with those calm, trusting eyes. "We stopped her. Together." The hearing the next morning was unlike anything Ryan had expected. Victoria's lawyers tried every trick in their arsenal. They questioned the legality of Ryan's surveillance. They attacked the credibility of the witnesses. They painted their client as a misunderstood woman who had been entrapped by a vengeful veteran. But the evidence was overwhelming. Thomas Blackwood took the stand first. He described how Margaret Collins had befriended him, gained his trust, then destroyed his life by having his service dog euthanized. "Max was everything to me," Thomas said, his voice breaking. "He saved my life in combat. He kept me alive when the nightmares got too bad. And she took him from me." Sarah Chen testified next. She told the court about Patricia Brennan, the friendly neighbor who had killed her therapy cat and collected $200,000 in fraudulent settlements. "Whiskers helped me cope with anxiety," Sarah said through tears. "After she killed him, I couldn't leave my house for 6 months. Michael Rodriguez was last. He described how Margaret Collins had destroyed his family by having their golden retriever euthanized. Bailey was my daughter's best friend, Michael said, his voice tight with rage. She was 8 years old when they took him away. She still has nightmares. By the time Ryan took the stand, the room was silent. The judge's face was hard. The jury, this was a criminal trial now, not just a civil hearing, looked at Victoria with undisguised contempt. Commander Cole, the prosecutor approached the witness stand. Please describe what you witnessed on the night in question. Ryan told them everything. The kettle, the sedated dog, the boiling water inches from Titan's body, the gas line that Victoria had been about to loosen. She looked me in the eye and told me she was going to destroy me, Ryan said quietly. She said she'd done it before, to families stronger than mine. She was completely confident that she would get away with it. And why did she believe that? Because she always had before. Ryan's voice hardened. Because the system protected her. Because military families are vulnerable. We move often. We trust our neighbors. We depend on our animals for emotional support. She exploited all of that. What did you do when you realized the threat? I set a trap. I made her believe I was gone. I installed cameras. And when she came back to finish what she'd started, I was waiting. The prosecutor nodded. No further questions. Victoria's lawyer stood for cross-examination. He tried to paint Ryan as unstable, paranoid, obsessed. He questioned his PTSD diagnosis. He implied that the footage had been manipulated. Ryan answered every question calmly, steadily, without losing his composure. I'm a Navy SEAL, he said finally. I've spent 15 years serving this country. I've seen things that would break most people. But I've never encountered anyone as dangerous as this woman. And why is that, Commander? Because she doesn't use guns or bombs. She uses trust. She targets the most vulnerable people in our society and destroys them from the inside. Ryan looked directly at Victoria. She's a predator, and predators don't stop until someone stops them. The jury deliberated for 43 minutes. Victoria Ashworth was found guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced her to 23 years in federal prison, with no possibility of parole. As she was led from the courtroom, Victoria turned back one last time. Her eyes met Ryan's. There was no remorse there, no fear, just pure, concentrated hatred. This isn't over, she mouthed. Yes, Ryan replied quietly. It is. The door closed behind her. Titan, waiting in the hallway with a military handler, lifted his head as Ryan emerged from the courtroom. Hey, boy. Ryan knelt down and pulled the dog close. We did it. We got her. Titan's tail wagged. Thomas Blackwood approached, tears streaming down his face. Thank you, he whispered. Thank you for giving Max justice. Thank you for having the courage to testify. Ryan stood and shook his hand. What you did today, what all of you did, that took more strength than anything I've ever done in combat. What happens now? Ryan looked at Titan, then at Thomas, then at the other victims gathered in the hallway. Sarah, Michael, and a dozen others who had come forward once they learned Victoria had finally been caught. Now, Ryan said slowly, we make sure this never happens again. How? I don't know yet. Ryan smiled grimly. But I'm going to figure it out. That night, Ryan sat on his porch with Titan at his feet, watching the sun set over Coronado. His phone buzzed. A text from Santos. Local news wants an interview. National news too. This story is going viral. Ryan didn't respond. He wasn't ready for interviews, for fame, for any of it. He just wanted to sit here with his dog and feel the peace he hadn't felt in weeks. "We did good, boy," he murmured, scratching behind Titan's ears. "We did real good." Titan lifted his head and licked Ryan's hand. Somewhere out there, Victoria Ashworth was beginning her first night in prison. Somewhere out there, 3 families were finally finding closure. Somewhere out there, 18 other families would never know how close they'd come to destruction. And here, on this porch, a man and his dog sat together in the fading light. 2 veterans, 2 survivors, 2 warriors who had faced the worst humanity had to offer and emerged victorious. The battle was over. But the war to protect those who couldn't protect themselves, was just beginning. The story broke nationally 3 days after the verdict. Every major network picked it up. CNN, Fox, MSN, BC, ABC. They all wanted the same thing. The Navy SEAL who caught a serial animal abuser. The hero dog who survived. The victims who finally got justice. Ryan refused every interview request. "I didn't do this for fame," he told Santos when she asked why. "I did it for Titan, for Max, for every animal she hurt." The families want to thank you publicly. They want the world to know what happened. Then let them tell the story. It's theirs more than mine. But the world wasn't interested in the families. The world wanted Ryan Cole, the handsome commander in his digital camouflage uniform, the warrior who protected the innocent, the man who became a symbol of everything America wanted to believe about its military. They found him anyway. The first reporter showed up at his house on a Tuesday morning, camera crew in tow. "Commander Cole, can we get a statement about Victoria Ashworth?" Ryan didn't answer. He loaded Titan into his truck and drove away. The second reporter was waiting at the training center. "Commander Cole, is it true you're starting a foundation for military dogs?" Ryan walked past without acknowledging her. The third reporter, and fourth, and fifth were camped outside his house when he returned that evening. "Commander Cole, the American people want to hear your story." Ryan stopped. Titan sat at his side, ears alert, eyes watchful. "You want a story?" Ryan's voice was quiet but carried. "I'll give you one. 3 years ago, a woman named Victoria Ashworth killed a service dog named Max. His owner, Thomas Blackwood, was a Marine veteran who served 3 tours in Iraq. Max was his lifeline, the only thing keeping him alive after the trauma of combat. The reporters fell silent. When Max was euthanized, Thomas lost everything. His job, his home, his family. He's been living in VA shelters ever since, struggling with PTSD, addiction, and survivor's guilt. Ryan's voice hardened. Victoria Ashworth didn't just kill a dog. She destroyed a human being. And she did it 6 more times before anyone stopped her. "Commander Cole, do you—" "No more questions." Ryan turned toward his door. "If you want to help, don't make me a hero. Make sure this never happens again." He went inside and closed the door. The footage aired that night on every major network. By morning, #JusticeForMax was trending worldwide. Thomas Blackwood called Ryan the next day. "I saw the interview. What you said about Max. About me." His voice was thick with emotion. No one's ever told my story like that." It needed to be told. "The shelter where I'm staying, they've had calls all morning. People wanting to donate. People wanting to help." Thomas laughed, but it sounded like crying. "I haven't felt this kind of hope in years." "That's good, Thomas. That's really good." "I don't know how to thank you." "You can thank me by coming to San Diego." Ryan paused. "I meant what I said before, about Shadow, about the training program. I'm not sure I'm ready. No one's ever ready. But sometimes you have to jump anyway." Ryan's voice softened. "Max would want you to keep going. To help other dogs the way he helped you. Silence. Long, heavy silence.
When do you want me there?
As soon as you can. I'll arrange everything.
Okay.
Thomas took a deep breath. Okay, I'll come. Thank you, Thomas. Don't thank me. Just help me become someone Max would be proud of. I will. I promise. Thomas arrived in San Diego 4 days later. Ryan picked him up at the airport, a thin, weathered man in his early 40s who looked 20 years older. His eyes were hollow, his hands trembled, and he flinched at sudden sounds. But when he saw Titan waiting in the back of Ryan's truck, something in his face changed. He's beautiful, Thomas whispered, just like Max was. Titan, meet Thomas. Thomas, meet Titan. The dog studied the stranger for a long moment. Then, slowly, he extended his head and pressed it against Thomas's hand. Thomas broke down. I'm sorry. He was sobbing now, tears streaming down his face. I'm sorry, it's been so long since... Take your time. Ryan put a hand on his shoulder. There's no rush. They stood in the parking lot for 10 minutes while Thomas cried and Titan pressed against him, offering the wordless comfort that only a dog could provide. Finally, Thomas straightened, wiped his eyes, took a deep breath. Okay, I'm ready. Are you sure? No. Thomas managed a weak smile. But I'm going anyway. Ryan drove him to the military working dog training facility at Coronado, the place where dreams were built and warriors were forged. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Mitchell met them at the entrance. She was the program coordinator, a 30-year Navy veteran who had seen everything and forgotten nothing. Thomas Blackwood, she extended her hand. I've heard a lot about you. Nothing good, I'm sure. On the contrary, Commander Cole speaks very highly of your service record. 3 tours in Iraq, Bronze Star with V device, Purple Heart. Mitchell's eyes were steady. That's not nothing, Mr. Blackwood.
It feels like nothing.
I understand. Mitchell gestured for them to follow. Let me show you what we do here. Then you can decide if it's something you want to be part of. She led them through the facility, explaining each stage of the training process. Puppies being socialized, young dogs learning basic obedience, advanced dogs mastering detection, patrol, and combat skills. Thomas watched in silence, his eyes growing wider with each passing minute. These dogs, he finally said. They're going to war? Some of them. Others will become therapy dogs, service animals, search and rescue. Mitchell paused. Every dog here will eventually save someone's life. The question is whether we prepare them properly. And that's where I come in? That's where you could come in, if you want to. Mitchell turned to face him. We have a program for veterans like you. Men and women who understand what these dogs go through. The training, the deployment, the trauma. You'd work alongside professional trainers, learning the techniques, building relationships with the animals. What do I get out of it? Purpose, structure, a reason to get up in the morning. Mitchell's voice softened. And a chance to honor Max's memory by helping other dogs become what he was. Thomas was quiet for a long moment. Then he looked at Ryan. Is this real? This actually works? I've seen it work dozens of times. Veterans who thought their lives were over found meaning again through these dogs. Ryan paused. It won't fix everything, Thomas. The nightmares won't disappear. The pain won't go away. But it gives you something to hold on to when the darkness gets too heavy. And what do you need from me? Nothing except effort. Show up every day. Do the work. Let the dogs teach you what you've forgotten. What's that? That you're still worth something. Ryan met his eyes. That you can still make a difference. Thomas looked at Mitchell, at Ryan, at Titan sitting patiently at his master's side. "Okay," he said quietly. "I'll try." "That's all anyone can ask," Mitchell smiled. "Welcome to the program, Mr. Blackwood." That evening, Ryan took Thomas to meet Shadow. The young German shepherd was 2 years old, energetic, intelligent, eager to please. He'd washed out of the military program due to an injury that left him unsuitable for combat work, but he was perfect for a different kind of service. Thomas knelt beside the kennel, and Shadow pressed against the bars, tail wagging. "Hey, boy," Thomas whispered. "Hey." Shadow licked his hand. "He likes you," Ryan said. "Dogs always liked me. Max did from the first moment we met." Thomas's voice cracked. "I was so broken when I came back from my third tour. Couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't function. The VA gave me pills that made everything worse." "And Max?" "Max was different. He didn't care about my medals or my nightmares or my inability to hold down a job. He just wanted to be with me." Thomas looked up at Ryan. "He saved my life every single day. And when she took him away, when they killed him because of her lies, I lost the only thing that made living worthwhile." "But you're still here." "Barely." Thomas stood slowly. "Some days I don't know why I bothered. Some days I think it would be easier to just—" "I know." Ryan's voice was quiet. "I've been there too." "You?" "After Afghanistan. After the explosion that almost killed Titan and me." Ryan touched the scar on his arm. "I spent 3 months in a hospital bed, convinced I'd never walk again, never serve again, never be anything but a burden." "What changed?" "Titan." Ryan looked at his dog. "He was injured worse than I was. Shrapnel in his shoulder, burns on his legs. But every day he would limp into my room and lie beside my bed, not asking for anything, just being there. And that was enough? It was everything. It reminded me that I wasn't alone, that someone still needed me, that giving up would mean abandoning the one creature who had never abandoned me." Ryan paused. "That's what these dogs do, Thomas. They remind us why we're still fighting." Thomas looked at Shadow, still pressing against the bars, still wagging his tail. Can I take him out?" "He's not officially yours yet. There's paperwork, evaluations, training protocols," Ryan smiled. "But I think we can bend the rules for one evening." He opened the kennel door. Shadow bounded out and threw himself at Thomas, tail wagging so hard his whole body shook. Thomas went down under the assault, laughing for what might have been the first time in years. Hey, settle down." But he was grinning, really grinning, as Shadow licked his face. Okay, I like you too." Ryan watched them together, the broken veteran and the eager dog, and felt something loosen in his chest. This was why he'd fought so hard. This was why he'd refused to let Victoria win. Not for himself, not for recognition or fame. For this, for moments like this, for the chance to help someone else find what he had found.
"Thank you,"
Thomas said, finally managing to sit up, with Shadow still plastered against his side.
"Thank you for believing in me."
"Don't thank me yet. The work is just beginning."
"I don't care about the work. I care about this."
Thomas wrapped his arms around Shadow.
"I care about having something to live for again."
"Then let's make sure you keep it." The next morning, Ryan received an unexpected visitor. Admiral Harrison, commander of Naval Special Warfare, appeared at the training center without warning. "Cole, my office, now." Ryan followed, his mind racing. Admirals didn't make personal visits for casual conversations. "Close the door." Ryan complied. Harrison sat behind his desk, his expression unreadable. I've been watching what you've done over the past few weeks. The investigation, the trial, the media attention. Sir, I can explain. I don't want explanations.
I want to offer you a job. Ryan blinked. Sir?
The Department of Defense is creating a new initiative, a comprehensive program to protect military working dogs and their handlers during deployment and after. Better veterinary care, stronger legal protections, more resources for canine units across all branches. That sounds significant. It is, and we want you to lead it. Harrison leaned forward. Director of the Military Working Dog Protection Program, reporting directly to the Secretary of Defense. Sir, I'm honored, but let me finish. Harrison's voice hardened. Victoria Ashworth targeted 18 military families before you stopped her. 18. And she's not alone. There are predators everywhere who see our service members and their animals as easy targets. I understand that, sir, but I'm an operator. I belong in the field, not behind a desk. You were an operator. Now, you're something else. Harrison's expression softened. Cole, the work you've done, exposing Ashworth, protecting those families, inspiring that Blackwood fellow to rejoin the living, that's the kind of impact most people never achieve in their entire careers. I was just protecting my dog. You were protecting all of them. Every military dog, every handler, every family who depends on these animals for support and companionship. Harrison stood and walked to the window. Do you know how many military working dogs have been abandoned, abused, or euthanized unnecessarily over the past decade? No, sir. Neither do we, because no one's been tracking it. Harrison turned back. That's what this program is about. Creating systems that protect these animals. Creating accountability for those who harm them. Creating a culture where military dogs are treated as the heroes they are. Ryan was silent for a long moment. What would I have to do? Leave the SEALs. Not entirely. You'd still be Navy. But your operational days would be over. Harrison paused. I know that's a significant sacrifice, but the impact you could have, the lives you could save, both human and canine, would be enormous. Can I think about it? Take all the time you need. Harrison handed him a folder. Here's the proposal. Read it, consider it, and let me know your decision. Ryan took the folder and left. That night, he sat on his porch with Titan, reading the proposal by flashlight. The scope was staggering. Nationwide programs for military dog welfare. Legal protections for handlers and their animals. Funding for veterinary care, rehabilitation, and retirement. A complete overhaul of how the military treated its four-legged warriors. And they wanted him to lead it. What do you think, boy? Ryan looked at Titan. Should I do it? Titan lifted his head and pressed it against Ryan's knee. That's not an answer. The dog's tail wagged once. Some help you are. But in his heart, Ryan already knew the decision he would make. He thought about the SEALs, the brotherhood, the missions, the adrenaline of combat. He'd loved that life. He'd defined himself by that life. But he wasn't that man anymore. Afghanistan had changed him. Titan had changed him. Victoria Ashworth had changed him. He wasn't just a warrior now. He was a protector. And protectors didn't stay on the battlefield forever. Sometimes they built walls that kept the battle from reaching the innocent. Okay, he said quietly. Okay. He pulled out his phone and called Admiral Harrison. Sir, it's Cole. I've made my decision. And? I'll do it. I'll lead the program. Silence. Then, are you sure? This is a significant change. I'm sure. Ryan looked at Titan. Some battles are fought with rifles and tactics. Others are fought with policy and advocacy. Both are necessary. Both are honorable. I'm glad to hear you say that. Harrison's voice warmed. Welcome aboard, Director Cole. Thank you, sir. Report to Washington in 2 weeks. We'll have everything ready by then. Ryan ended the call and sat back. Director Cole. It sounded strange, foreign, but it also sounded right. Well, boy, he said to Titan, looks like we're starting a new chapter. Titan's tail wagged. Ryan scratched behind his ears. Yeah, I thought you'd approve. The next morning, he told Thomas about his decision. Director? Of the whole program? Thomas stared at him. That's huge. It's necessary. Someone has to protect these dogs. Someone has to make sure what happened to Max never happens again. But what about your SEAL career? Your team? My team will understand. And my career... Ryan paused. My career was never about medals or deployments. It was about protecting people who couldn't protect themselves. This is just a different way of doing the same thing. You're giving up everything. I'm not giving up. I'm moving forward. Ryan looked at Shadow, pressed against Thomas's side. These dogs gave us everything. It's time we gave something back. Thomas was quiet for a long moment. Then he extended his hand. For what it's worth, I think you're making the right choice. Coming from you, that's worth a lot. Ryan shook his hand. Take care of Shadow. Take care of yourself. And when you're ready, when you're really ready, come to Washington. I'm going to need good people to help me build this program. You want me? In Washington? I want people who understand what these dogs mean, who have felt their loss and their love. Ryan's voice softened. I want people like you, Thomas. People who know why this matters. Thomas's eyes filled with tears. I don't know what to say. Say you'll think about it. That's all I ask. I'll think about it. Thomas looked at Shadow. I'll definitely think about it. That evening, Ryan made one final visit. Mrs. Patterson's house was quiet, her windows dark. She'd passed away 3 weeks ago, peacefully, in her sleep, surrounded by the photos of the grandchildren she'd never stopped bragging about. Ryan stood on her porch, remembering. You were right about her, he murmured. Victoria, you said she was lovely, but Titan knew better. He thought about all the times Mrs. Patterson had waved at him from this porch. All the conversations about nothing in particular. All the small kindnesses that made a neighborhood feel like home. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you from the truth about her. I'm sorry you had to find out what kind of person she really was. Ryan's voice cracked. But I promise you, I promise, I'm going to make sure no one else falls for people like her. I'm going to protect the people and the animals you loved. He placed a single flower on her doorstep. Goodbye, Mrs. Patterson. Rest easy. He walked back to his truck, where Titan was waiting. Let's go home, boy. But as he drove away, Ryan knew that home wasn't just a place anymore. Home was wherever the people and animals he loved were safe. And he was going to spend the rest of his life making sure they stayed that way. 1 year later, Commander Ryan Cole stood before the United States Congress. The hearing room was packed. Senators, representatives, military officials, journalists, everyone who mattered in Washington had come to witness this moment. And beside Ryan, sitting with the dignity of a decorated veteran, was Titan. Director Cole, Senator Williams, chairman of the Armed Services Committee, leaned forward. Please proceed with your testimony. Ryan took a deep breath. 1 year ago, a woman named Victoria Ashworth tried to kill my dog. She poured boiling water toward his sedated body, planning to stage an accident that would result in his death and a fraudulent lawsuit against me. The room was silent. I caught her in the act. She's now serving 23 years in federal prison. But Victoria Ashworth wasn't an isolated case. She was part of a pattern, a nationwide epidemic of animal abuse targeting military families. Ryan pulled out a folder. In the past 12 months, my office has documented 347 cases of animal cruelty involving military working dogs and service animals. 347 cases where predators targeted our most vulnerable. Veterans struggling with PTSD. Families dealing with deployment stress. Handlers who depend on their animals for emotional and physical support. What kind of predators? Senator Williams asked. Con artists, like Victoria Ashworth, who stage attacks to collect insurance settlements. Neighbors who poison pets out of spite. Landlords who illegally evict families for having service animals. And in too many cases, military bureaucrats who euthanize healthy dogs simply because they've become inconvenient. A murmur rippled through the chamber. These animals serve our nation with loyalty and courage. They detect bombs, track enemies, protect our soldiers, and comfort our veterans. They give us everything they have, asking for nothing in return except food, shelter, and the chance to do their jobs. Ryan's voice hardened. And in return, we abandon them. We abuse them. We kill them when they're no longer useful. What are you proposing, Director Cole? The Military Working Dog Protection Act. Ryan handed the folder to a Senate aide. Comprehensive legislation that would establish federal protections for all military and service animals. Mandatory veterinary care. Legal penalties for abuse and neglect. Retirement programs for dogs who can no longer serve. And most importantly, a commitment from this government that the animals who protect us will be protected in return. That's a significant undertaking. It's a necessary one. Ryan looked around the chamber. Every person in this room has benefited from the service of military dogs. Every family who sleeps safely at night owes something to the animals who detected the bombs, tracked the terrorists, and stood between our soldiers and harm. He paused. Titan saved my life in Afghanistan. He detected an IED that would have killed my entire team. He took shrapnel meant for me. He carries scars that will never fully heal. Ryan's voice cracked. And when a predator tried to destroy him, the system almost let it happen. Almost? The only reason Titan is alive today is because I came home early from a training exercise. If I'd arrived 5 minutes later, 5 minutes, my dog would be dead, and Victoria Ashworth would be collecting another settlement. Ryan met the senator's eyes. That's not protection. That's luck. And our military dogs deserve better than luck. Senator Williams was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. Thank you, Director Cole. This committee will take your testimony under advisement. With respect, Senator, these dogs don't need advisement. They need action. Ryan stood. Every day we delay, another animal is hurt. Another veteran loses their lifeline. Another predator gets away with cruelty. Director Cole, I've spent 15 years serving this country. I've done things most people can't imagine. But the greatest impact I've ever had wasn't on a battlefield. It was stopping one woman from hurting one dog. Ryan's voice strengthened. Imagine what we could accomplish if we actually tried. Imagine how many lives we could save, human and canine, if we committed to protecting those who protect us. The chamber was absolutely silent. That's all I have to say. Ryan turned toward the door. Come on, Titan, we're done here. He walked out without looking back. 3 months later, the Military Working Dog Protection Act passed with overwhelming bipartisan support. Ryan watched the signing ceremony from his office. Titan at his feet, a strange mix of emotions churning in his chest. We did it, boy, he murmured. We actually did it. Titan's tail wagged. Yeah, I can't believe it either. His phone rang. Thomas Blackwood. Did you see it?
Did you see the president sign the bill?
I saw it.
This is because of you, Ryan, because of what you started.
It's because of all of us. You, Sarah, Michael, everyone who testified, everyone who told their story. But you were the one who refused to give up. You were the one who turned a personal tragedy into a national movement. Thomas's voice was thick with emotion. Max would be so proud. How's Shadow? Perfect. Absolutely perfect, Thomas laughed. We're actually graduating from the training program next week. Did I tell you? Shadow passed all his certifications. He's officially a therapy dog now.
That's incredible, Thomas. I'm so proud of you.
I couldn't have done it without you. Without the program, without Shadow, without... Thomas paused. Without you believing in me when no one else did. You believed in yourself. I just reminded you how. Same thing. Thomas was quiet for a moment. Listen, there's something I wanted to tell you. I've been offered a job.
A job?
At the VA hospital in Phoenix. They want me to run their animal-assisted therapy program. Help other veterans the way Shadow helped me.
Thomas, that's amazing.
It's terrifying is what it is. But I keep thinking about what you said, about how these dogs give us everything, and it's time we gave something back. Thomas took a deep breath. So, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take the job. I never doubted you would. Liar. Thomas laughed again. But thank you. For everything. Thank you for having the courage to keep going. That's what Max taught me. And Shadow. And you. Thomas paused. Dogs don't give up on us, Ryan. They don't care about our mistakes, or our failures, or our broken pieces. They just love us. And sometimes, that's enough. It's always enough. Yeah, Thomas's voice softened. It really is. They talked for another 20 minutes, about the program, about Shadow, about the future that was opening up before them both. When Ryan finally hung up, he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Not just for himself. For all of them. For every veteran who had lost their way. Every animal who needed protection. Every family who depended on these bonds to survive. The world was changing. Slowly, imperfectly, but changing nonetheless. And he had helped make it happen. 6 months after the act was signed, Ryan received an invitation he couldn't refuse. The ceremony was held at Arlington National Cemetery, in a section most people didn't know existed. The Military Working Dog Memorial, a quiet corner dedicated to the four-legged warriors who had served and died in defense of the nation. Ryan arrived in his dress uniform, Titan walking solemnly at his side. Dozens of people had gathered, veterans, handlers, families who had lost beloved animals. Sarah Chen was there with a new therapy cat. Michael Rodriguez had brought his daughter, who clutched a photo of Bailey to her chest, and Thomas Blackwood stood at the front, Shadow pressed against his legs, his face peaceful for the first time since Ryan had known him. Thank you all for coming. Admiral Harrison stepped forward to address the crowd. We're here today to dedicate this memorial to the memory of all military working dogs who have given their lives in service to our nation. He paused, looking out at the assembled faces. For too long, these animals were treated as equipment, disposable, replaceable. We used them up and threw them away, without acknowledging the sacrifices they made or the lives they saved. That ends today. Harrison gestured toward a new monument that had been erected beside the existing memorial. It was simple but powerful, a bronze statue of a German shepherd, frozen in eternal vigilance, surrounded by the names of dogs who had died in combat. This monument is dedicated to the memory of Max, Bailey, Whiskers, and every other animal who was killed, not by enemy action, but by the cruelty and indifference of people who should have protected them. Harrison's voice hardened. It is a reminder that our commitment to these animals doesn't end when they leave the battlefield. It continues until their last breath, and beyond. He turned toward Ryan. Director Cole, would you like to say a few words? Ryan stepped forward. Titan stayed at his side. 2 years ago, I was a Navy SEAL. Combat was my life. I defined myself by the missions I completed, the enemies I defeated, the brothers I served alongside. He paused. And then a woman tried to pour boiling water on my dog. A ripple of emotion passed through the crowd. In that moment, everything I thought I knew about strength and courage and sacrifice was turned upside down. Because fighting an enemy in combat is one thing. Fighting an enemy who hides behind the law, who exploits our trust, who targets the innocent, that's something else entirely. Ryan looked at Thomas. When I met Thomas Blackwood, he was broken. The system had failed him. A predator had destroyed his life and killed his best friend. He had every reason to give up. And for a while, he did. Thomas's eyes glistened with tears. But he didn't stay down. He found the strength to keep going, to testify, to rebuild, to honor Max's memory by helping other dogs and other veterans. Ryan's voice cracked. That's the real victory here. Not the legislation, or the programs, or the monuments. It's the people who refuse to let tragedy have the last word. He gestured toward the crowd. Every person here has a story. Every person here has lost something, or almost lost something, to the cruelty of others. But you're still standing. You're still fighting. You're still believing that things can get better. Ryan looked down at Titan. These dogs teach us something important. They show us that love doesn't have conditions, that loyalty doesn't have limits, that the bonds we form with animals are just as sacred as the bonds we form with humans. He knelt beside Titan and wrapped his arms around the dog's neck. Titan saved my life, not just in Afghanistan, every single day. He reminded me why I was fighting. He gave me something to come home to. He was the reason I kept going, when giving up would have been easier. Ryan stood. That's what this memorial is about. It's about honoring the animals who gave us everything. It's about remembering the ones we lost. And it's about committing, truly committing, to protecting the ones who are still with us. He looked out at the crowd one final time. The Military Working Dog Protection Act is just the beginning. There's still work to do, still battles to fight, still animals who need our help. Ryan's voice strengthened. But as long as I'm breathing, as long as any of us are breathing, we will not stop. We will not rest. We will not let another Max or Bailey or Whiskers be killed because of human cruelty. That's our promise, to them and to each other. The crowd erupted in applause. Thomas was openly crying. Sarah held her cat close. Michael's daughter smiled through her tears. And Titan, scarred, loyal, magnificent Titan, pressed his head against Ryan's leg and wagged his tail. After the ceremony, Ryan found a quiet moment alone with the memorial. He traced his fingers over the names etched in bronze. Dogs he'd never known, but whose stories he now carried. "I'm sorry I couldn't save all of you," he whispered. "But I promise, your deaths won't be meaningless." Talking the statues now? Ryan turned. Thomas was approaching, shadow at his side. Old habit. SEALs talk to their fallen brothers all the time. Makes sense. Thomas stood beside him, looking at the monument. You know, a year ago, I was living in a shelter, wondering if I'd make it through another week. Now I'm running a therapy program, training service dogs, actually feeling like my life has purpose. You did that yourself. No, I did it because you showed me it was possible. Thomas turned to face him. That's the real legacy here, Ryan. Not the laws or the monuments. It's the lives you've changed, the people you've saved. I haven't saved anyone. I just stopped a monster, created a national movement, changed federal law, gave hope to thousands of veterans and their families. Thomas smiled. You know, for a guy who insists he's not a hero, you sure act like one a lot. I'm not a hero. I'm just a guy who loves his dog. Same thing, Thomas laughed. At least, that's what Shadow tells me. They stood in silence for a moment, watching the sun begin to set over Arlington. What's next for you? Thomas asked. More work. The act was just the beginning. We need enforcement mechanisms, training programs, funding. I mean, personally, what's next for Ryan Cole, the human being, not Ryan Cole, the director? Ryan considered the question. It was a good one. He'd spent so much time fighting for the cause that he'd almost forgotten to live. I don't know, he admitted. Maybe take Titan on a real vacation, somewhere with a beach and no responsibilities. That sounds nice. It sounds terrifying. I haven't had a vacation in 15 years. Then you're overdue. Thomas put a hand on his shoulder. Listen, I know this crusade is important. I know there's always more work to do. But you can't save the world if you destroy yourself in the process. Says the guy who almost did exactly that. Exactly. Which is why I know what I'm talking about. Thomas's expression turned serious. Take care of yourself, Ryan. The dogs need you. The veterans need you. I need you. I'm fine. You're exhausted. You're running on fumes and willpower, and eventually that catches up with everyone, even Navy SEALs. Thomas paused. Let someone else carry the weight for a while. You've earned a rest. Ryan wanted to argue, wanted to insist that he was fine, that the mission was too important, that resting was for people who weren't trying to change the world. But Thomas was right. He was exhausted. He'd been running on adrenaline and purpose for so long that he'd forgotten what normal felt like. Okay, he said finally. After we finish implementing the next phase of the act, after we secure funding for the retirement program, after nothing, now. Thomas's voice was firm. Take a week off. Go somewhere quiet. Remember what it feels like to just exist without a mission. And if I can't, then fake it until you can. Thomas smiled. That's what Shadow taught me. Sometimes you have to pretend to be okay until you actually are. Ryan looked at Titan. The dog looked back with those wise, patient eyes. Okay, he said. 1 week. Promise? Promise. Thomas nodded, satisfied. Good. Now come on. There's a reception, and I hear there's cake. Cake? Dog-friendly cake. Someone baked treats for all the animals who came to the ceremony. Thomas grinned. Shadow's been eyeing them all afternoon. Ryan laughed, a real laugh, full and genuine. Lead the way. They walked toward the reception together, their dogs at their sides. Behind them, the sun continued to set, painting the memorial in shades of gold and crimson. The bronze German shepherd stood eternal watch, surrounded by the names of heroes who would never be forgotten. And somewhere, in the rustle of wind through the trees, in the whisper of grass beneath their feet, the spirits of Max and Bailey and all the others seemed to say, thank you. 1 week later, Ryan sat on a beach in California with Titan beside him. No phone, no laptop, no responsibilities. Just sand and sun and the sound of waves. This is nice, he murmured. I'd forgotten what nice felt like. Titan's tail wagged. Don't get used to it. We've got work to do when we get back. The dog pressed closer, as if to say he didn't care about work. He just cared about being here with his person in this moment. Ryan wrapped an arm around Titan's shoulders and looked out at the ocean. He thought about everything that had happened. Victoria Ashworth, the trial, the act, the memorial, the lives he'd touched, and been touched by. He thought about Thomas, rebuilding his life in Phoenix, about Sarah, healing with her new cat, about Michael's daughter, learning that loss didn't have to be the end of the story. He thought about his own journey, from operator to advocate, from warrior to protector, from a man who defined himself by combat to a man who defined himself by compassion. And he thought about Titan, always Titan, the dog who had saved his life in every way that mattered. "We did good, boy," Ryan said softly. "We did real good." Titan lifted his head and licked Ryan's face. I know. No need to be sappy about it." Ryan smiled. But someone had to say it. The sun was setting now, painting the sky in colors that defied description. Ryan watched it sink toward the horizon, feeling more at peace than he had in years. Tomorrow, he would return to Washington, to the work that still needed doing, to the animals that still needed protecting. But tonight, he would simply exist, with his dog, with the ocean, with a quiet certainty that he had found his purpose. Victoria Ashworth had tried to destroy him. Instead, she had created something she could never have imagined. A movement, a legacy, a promise that would outlast them all. Ryan Cole walked into his kitchen and found a woman pouring boiling water on his dog. He could have stopped her, called the police, and moved on with his life. Instead, he chose to fight. He exposed her crimes, saved her future victims, built a foundation to protect military animals, and changed federal law forever. He helped broken veterans find hope. He gave grieving families closure. He created a world where military dogs were finally treated as the heroes they were. And Titan, the dog who started it all, still sat by his side every day, scarred but strong, loyal but never broken. Victoria Ashworth is spending 23 years in federal prison. Thomas Blackwood runs a therapy program in Phoenix, helping veterans heal through the power of animal companionship. Sarah Chen and Michael Rodriguez have founded support groups for families victimized by animal abuse, and the Military Working Dog Protection Act stands as a permanent monument to every four-legged warrior who ever served. She poured boiling water on a German shepherd to fake an accident. Then the dog's owner walked in, and the world was never the same again.